Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and today we're doing our very first review of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Full transparency, I was not prepared to do this yet. I knew it was coming up this week, but in the back of my head I was like, oh, I was hoping all of it would start in November. But this has just been kind of a crazy week for me. But anyway, that's not why we're here. Let's get into it. So, again, I am mentioning this is my first review for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I have reviewed other TV shows before, one other TV show, Young, Famous, and African. So if you want to check that out, definitely do that. I'll put that at the beginning of this video. Well, before this video even pops up, I'll put that in there. But anyway, this is The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 13, lucky number 13, Episode 1. And the name of the episode is The EagleWoman Has Landed. So before the episode even starts, basically, they're kind of giving us like a trailer. So if you haven't had the chance to check out the trailer, there was a trailer that was released before the show started. And so it's going over that trailer before the show starts. And the trailer starts off with a whole bunch of different YouTubers discussing Kyle Richards and Mauricio's their separation or alleged separation, just going over that before the rest of the previews of the show. And then after that, then shows the rest of what's supposed to be happening this season on the show. And that's pretty much the trailer. If you want to check out the trailer, I'm pretty sure it's on just like, you could just find it on Bravo TV, the YouTube channel for that. I was debating before I was going to review this show, if I was going to review any of the trailers, and I'm not going to do that. So anyway, so let's get into the episode. So the first scene is Dorit and PK discussing basically doing some type. They're planning on doing. Not they really. Dorit wants to do a spiritual retreat with the ladies and like a healing retreat and. So this is going to be kind of a setup for the first group event of the season. And they're talking about the spiritual healer name. Her name is EagleWoman. So that's where the title of the show comes from, or this episode comes from. And she's a spiritual healer. And so she comes to Dorit's house. And PK is not taking any of it seriously. He's just like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And full transparency, I kind of agree with PK on this. Because I will say this, the Real Housewives shows, not just this one, but all of them, as of late, have the same storyline. It's like every single franchise has a spiritual trip, a spiritual retreat for these crazy, outlandish personalities who are, most of them are well off financially and are delusional. It's like, I'm not understanding why they always do that. Me, as someone who is kind of more on the spiritual side, I'm kind of just like, I side-eye wherever I see this every time. I'm just kind of like, so we're starting off with this. Like, it literally has been a thing for all the shows so far. Like, Atlanta this past season had twice. They did it twice. One of them was a mental health one. That one actually kind of was like, no, that one I'm kind of with. The other, but it's a great message, but they're Real Housewives. And if you know how they are, it just kind of seems kind of contradictory. But anyway, but that's where it starts. I know I just went in the rabbit hole there, but that's where it starts. And so EagleWoman, she shows up to their place and she's accompanied by her apprentice. Her apprentice name is Blue Raven. And before we get to it any further, let me just preface this review and how I do reviews. I probably should have mentioned that before we even started any of this. I am someone who likes to give you a whole entire play-by-play what happened. That way, if the show wasn't given anything, it's okay. You could just watch me instead, and I can tell you everything that happened. So a review here is a spoiler. I don't know who's all watching my stuff, so if you are going to be watching this, I'm going to tell you everything that happened on the episode and then give you my feedback as I go along. I'm not going to rate it like I would for like my yoga videos, unless it's just not, I wasn't really into it. And I will just say this season premiere was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was okay. But I don't know if I felt that way just because of the simple fact that right now I'm reviewing, and reviewing a show is different than just watching it to enjoy. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, back to the video. Okay, so they show up at Dorit and PK's house, and PK is her husband, by the way. And the reason why Dorit decided she wants to put this together is because she wants to help the ladies move forward, including herself. And then they show like a cut scene while she's talking to, you know, the two women about the intentions of why she wants to put this together. PK is saying his snarky stuff that he says. He thinks he's funny. He's not really funny in this scene. I think he's given the case to try too hard, but whatever. And Dorit's not finding it amusing. A little foreshadowing here. But anyway, so while she's talking to her about that, they're showing cut scenes of her contacting all the ladies. Like, I'm not sure how advanced it was. I believe it was like 4 days in advance. She contacted all the ladies, let them know like, hey, are you interested? Like, kind of just like inviting them to this, and they all said okay. They all said yes, because basically it's an excuse for them to get together for the show. I mean, that's kind of how I read it. I don't really take it always seriously, and if you don't take it always seriously, you're not going to feel a certain way. So anyway, that's pretty much all that's all that happened there. And then next, it kind of shows a little bit of a montage of different the other ladies of the show, just kind of either talking about the retreat and what to expect from it, or getting ready, because it doesn't waste any time. We go right to everyone making their way to this retreat, and the retreat is at this ranch in the middle of like California. I'm not sure exactly where this ranch is at in California, but all I will say is that this ranch was gorgeous. It was very, very pretty. It kind of reminded me of something you would see in Arizona, to be fully transparent. And it was definitely giving Native American vibes, but I don't know what EagleWoman's thing is, because even though the episode's named that, she really wasn't in the episode that long. It was just kind of like the first, like, I would say like 20 minutes of the episode. The episode was about 40 something minutes long. So it wasn't like a super packed episode. But anyway, so there are like, it's not really like a tent, but looks kind of like a tent that they set up in the middle of the ranch, and then there was like mountains everywhere. It was really, really cute. It was giving a very, very nice ambiance. So anyway, after Dorit appears first, making sure everything's set up properly since it's her event, then Kyle appears next, and as she's like appearing, walking to the scene, walking to basically where they're going to be doing the retreat at, she's recapping all the events that happened last season, and how hurt she felt from that. And just a brief recap, because I don't think just in case this is your first time watching the Real Housewives this season, I will say what occurred with this particular franchise. It actually went on a pause. They should have been resuming filming because I believe their schedule was the same time as, trying to think what other show. I think they should have started around the same time, honestly, as I want to say it's Atlanta. They should have started at the same time they did, and they put them on pause because some things have changed. Now, I'll go more into it as I review it because it kind of all ties together with this episode, which I did appreciate that about this episode. They kind of did a great job of recapping everything that happened just because there was a little bit of a break in between, and typically there isn't. And when I mean a break in between, not even just a break in between when it premiered, but even a break in filming. So a lot of these women, like this is probably normally after the reunion, they go right into filming. If the franchise is momentuming, so they pick up where they leave off. This time around, they didn't do that. They took like they took a little bit of a pause. It wasn't like a year pause, but it was like a 6-month pause type thing, I think. So time has passed. But anyway, so what happened with Kyle last season was Kyle Richards is the younger sister of Kathy Hilton, like the Hiltons, like Paris, Nikki Hilton, their mom. And so also there is Kim Richards, who used to be on the show back in the day. Like I think it was season 1 through like 4 or 5, and then she was a friend of a couple of times. If you follow the Richards sisters, they were all child actresses. I don't think Kathy was, but the first, like Kim and Kyle were, and their mom was kind of like Mommy Dearest, from what I've gathered, basically, and Kyle is the youngest of them. Like she's like actually closer to age to Paris than she is to Kathy, because Kathy's like the older sister. She's like the oldest sister. Anyway, but their relationship basically kind of, because their mom, they were always kind of in competition of each other, and they basically never grew out of it. And so when they're on any type of show together, I mean, all 3 of them, really Kyle and Kim, and then Kyle and then Kathy. Kim and Kathy are like usually on the same page. We don't really know for sure because they don't really show their real selves on TV like that. Kyle has put everything out there, which has upset Kathy, because Kathy, and it's Beverly Hills. This is Beverly Hills, right? So, but which is also different from all the other franchises. But anyway, so what I'm getting into with Kyle is that their relationships with the siblings are it's very turbulent at best. It's not a good relationship, and it hasn't been. And they were playing nice for the season before. So season 11 of the show, Kathy made her debut on there as friend of. Clearly, since everyone knows who she is, she's kind of a big name. She could be a full-time housewife, but because she don't really want people in her business like that for real, she always would choose to be friend of. Because with friend of, you could show up, get paid a little bit, but they're not in your life like that. And then this last season, and then season 11, Kathy was like the favorite. She was like the fan favorite. Everyone loved her, and which did not sit well with a lot of the women of the show, including Kyle. Clearly, she would never say it, but it's kind of obvious that's what happened there. And so then last season they kind of got into it because I guess Kathy had a meltdown, and there was just a lot that. But the thing is, no one saw the meltdown because it wasn't on the camera. So when that meltdown happened, a couple of the cast members, and one who's no longer on this show anymore, thank God, Lisa Rinna, she and Erica exploited it. and just made that their storyline and was all in their business. And mind you, the sisters already don't really, their relationship's already shaky at best. So outside of the interference of the relationship, it was a whole mess. So the reunion was a disaster. Kyle, whether she's a victim or not, that's a whole nother thing. You can go back and watch episodes, like watch seasons before to figure out if she is or not. But she basically had a whole entire meltdown during the reunion. And anyway, so that's what she's alluding to, that she was hurt last season. And they even show clips of that the reunion of not quite of everything that happened, but her reaction to everything that was happening. But only just really her and her sister. They didn't really show, they showed Lisa Rinna there, but they didn't really show all the things that Lisa Rinna was really doing. I'll get into why that is, but that's just a little bit of a background of what she was alluding to when she said she was hurt. Crystal appears next. Not much going. So fast forward to the ranch. So Crystal appears next at the ranch. Then Garcelle, along with Sutton. Garcelle and Sutton, they're like the BFFs of the crew. Like they're like one of the only few two cast members that hang out outside the show regularly, and they got each other's back. And they are the dynamic duo that are the fan favorites and have been fan favorites for really ever since they both kind of just like decided, hey, we are besties. So I call them the besties. So they show up next. And then, so as Garcelle shows up, she is her and I, like, we see each other on this one. She is kind of looking like, what is this? Why are we here? And only, like, she's just throwing shade at Dorit in the confessional. Just a little quick fun shade, nothing harmful, just fun shade. And then, they're all pretty much waiting at the ranch. Mine's Erica. Erica's not there yet. But while they are at the ranch, they're kind of just, having their little minor pleasantries, being very, having surface conversations, basically. And then it comes up, since they are at it like a ranch, that Sutton recently purchased a horse. She purchased a horse, like, from the Netherlands. And so I was like, okay, son, little small flex, little flexy flex, showing the shmoney you have. Side note, before we proceed, that's actually one of the reasons why I love this particular franchise, because it is Beverly Hills. These women got coin. Even the ones who don't have that much coin have the coin. And this is exactly what I love about certain reality shows. So when I was watching Young, Famous, and African, similar thing. I love watching excellence. I love watching something that, like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that. Yet. Maybe one day. But you get the drift. Like, it's just like, okay, like, fabulousness, ambiance, like, that kind of thing. And so that's kind of the other reason why I'm just like, the show. But anyway, I just want to throw it out there with this franchise is definitely giving very Hollywood, because a lot of them are in the industry or have businesses and, Anyway. So Erica finally does show up, though. And she's recapping how mean she was last season. And she's kind of really downplaying it. And she wasn't just mean last season. She's been mean the past 2 seasons. Because Erica Jane is the one, and for those who aren't familiar, she's the one who had the attorney from California that was like this powerhouse attorney that's like in his 80s. She was married to that man. And he got in all his trouble because he was committing fraud. but like in the grand scale of things. Like, and even the California bar got in trouble because the bar saw the signs and kind of put it, you know, just under the rug. They hid it. Like they pretend they didn't see it. And he is basically in the middle of a whole bunch of indictments, a whole bunch of civil suits. But since he's like in his late 80s, I mean, what is that going to do? But anyway, but Erika Jayne, she's blonde, in her 50s. You see how that looks? Okay. So I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of who she is before we go more into it. And I'll probably put some pictures up so you know who I'm talking about, for those who are new. Anyway, so she is also being delusional about how mean she was. She is saying she was protecting herself, even though people were just asking very legitimate questions, because her husband committed fraud on a pretty grand scale, and it was like people who were like in plane crashes, like people's families who died in plane crashes, and like he's basically an accidental attorney who's supposed to like help with compensation to, you know, help with loved ones, and he stole their money. And allegedly, I think it was proven that, but I'm still gonna say allegedly because I don't want them problems. I ain't got the money, so allegedly. And allegedly also use that money to fund Erika Jayne's lifestyle. And she's claiming she doesn't know anything about this, and she's been claiming it the whole entire time. But you see how... You see? Okay, but that's all alleged, and that has been talked about and beaten to the ground for the past 2 seasons. So season 11 and season 12. And then, of course, they're still going to be talking about it because it still isn't really resolved. But not... I really hope, time out, I'm just going to say real quick, I really hope they do not focus on this storyline for another season, because we know what it is. If we want to know what else is happening there, we can look it up, because it's public record. And because now it's not really, she wasn't charged for it, it was her husband. I'm done with it, because they literally, that was the storyline of the show for like 2 seasons. And then they sprinkled other storylines on top of it. But that was like the main one. Anyway. So, and that also was kind of the reason why, I should probably mention this too. That is also one of the reasons why the show went on a pause. It kind of got really toxic, the show itself, like really bad. Like that reunion was not bearable to watch. It was pretty horrible. Like the sister thing was pretty disgusting because of the person who's no longer on the show's actions and how she really contributed to it. And she had no regard of how she was basically messing up someone's family, because she knew how turbulent that was. Erika basically siding with that person. By the way, I already mentioned her name once, Lisa Rinna. I'm mentioning it again, but we ain't gonna talk about that lady no more because I don't like her. There's no alleged there. I don't like the lady, and she made the show really hard to watch last season, and even the season before a little bit. I don't like her. Anyway. So the show went on a pause because of that, and then there was other things that happened too that they haven't really discussed yet. But there's a lot of bad things that were happening last season, also pertaining to how Garcelle was treated, how her son was treated. It was just a whole entire mess. It was a hot mess how badly last season was, and how it just wasn't a fun show. Like Housewives, for me, you have a little bit of shade, you have a little bit of laughter. Yeah, you have some conflict, but there should be some resolve. It should not be mean-spirited. And last season was giving very much mean-spirited. It was pretty bad. Even the season before it wasn't as bad as last season, but it wasn't good. Anyway, so I kind of wanted to give you a little bit more context to why the show was on pause, because that all kind of ties in together, and it's also kind of part of what they're even talking about today. But anyway, so Erica also mentioned she now feels alone now because, well, she sided with the wrong person during all of that. And she was kind of a mean girl. Well, she wasn't. She was a mean girl. She wasn't kind of a mean girl. She was a mean girl. She's been a mean girl the past 2 seasons. Really, okay, if I could be fully transparent, I feel like she's been the mean girl the whole time. She gives Ice Queen vibes. I like some of her antics a little bit because I'm a little toxic, but yeah. I mean, just sometimes the way she talks to those ladies, the way she has in the past, those ladies are the right ones. If she was on any other franchise, like she was on like Atlanta, New Jersey, Old New York, Potomac, her mouth would not, she wouldn't be able to run her mouth like that. I'm just saying. Anyway, so Erica greets the group, and it's obvious. The one thing that's definitely obvious when you see Erica this season is she lost some weight. And like, she didn't really need to lose weight. Like, she wasn't really like heavy. She's never heavy. She was just a little bit more curvy last season. Like most of the season she's been on the show, she was pretty curvy. This is sparkling water, by the way, so don't get too excited. But she was super, super curvy. And not like curvy, like thickum. Because, I mean, I wouldn't say she was thick. She was just a little bit more on the curvy side. And now she's lost the weight. And I think she looks good. She looks great. She didn't really need to, but she looks good. And so she states that it's hormones that cause her to lose the weight. And they pan over to Dorit's reaction. And one thing that's awesome about Dorit is she doesn't give a lot. But one thing she does give well is reactions. She is one of those housewives that gives good facial reactions. So even though she isn't saying anything, she'd be giving look like, say what now? So she basically gave this look like, I know you lying. And then in the confessional, Dorit, she shades her and she's like, so if the hormone that she's talking about, she spells Ozempic. And then in Erica's confessional, the producers ask if she's on Ozempic or not. And she was like, no. She continued, she's doubling, tripling down that it's hormonal therapy. She doesn't say hormone therapy, she just says hormones. And she claps back that others should do the same. I'm thinking she's referring to like hormonal weight loss, if she's telling the truth, because I have heard of that being a thing. I've actually had that be on my Instagram feed about doing that. I don't know if that really works or not, but I've seen talks of that before. And I don't know if hormonal therapy would give you that quick of weight loss, because yeah, they took a pause, but it wasn't that long of a pause because she is down. Yeah. All right, on to like the spiritual retreat of it all. So EagleWoman greets everyone, and she's greeting them with like a drum, and it's like a Native American looking drum, and then has them go to like this thing where it's like a tent, but it's not a tent. It's not really a teepee either. I don't know what that thing's called, but it's in the middle of like the ranch, and then they all sit around this circle, and she says this like kind of meditation type pleasantries about her being the eagle and her flying by the sun. Like I kind of tuned her out as soon as she started talking because it just sounded like some TV BS. I don't know if this woman's legitimate or not. Again, don't take these type of spiritual retreat. I don't take these spiritual retreat type things on a housewife show seriously. I just can't do it. It's not in me. I myself am a spiritual person, and I do believe that stuff, you can do that seriously, But not on one of these shows. I have a tough time taking it seriously. But anyway. So while they're doing this, they're panning over to Garcelle and like Sutton and Erica, and they all just have this look like, I know you lying. This is wild. And then Garcelle again is shading Dorit in the confessional about only Dorit would want to do this type of thing. They're not being negative, and this is just in the confessional. She's not actually doing it there. So anyway, once EagleWoman and Blue Raven introduce themselves, they basically pan over to Dorit because she's the one who put it together. And she didn't waste that much time. She actually wasn't long-winded for once. Because, one thing about Dorit, if you're new to this show, she's typically the one that they always call long-winded because she just talks around circles and don't get to the point. This season, so far, she ain't doing that. She's getting right to it, which I'm appreciating that. And that actually used to be kind of how she was in the very first season she was on the show, because I actually liked her the first season. So maybe she's really maybe she's not phoning it in this season, because past, I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons, she's been phoning it in. But anyway, got distracted. So Dorit, she doesn't waste any time, and she mentions the reason for the retreat. She's like, hey, I just want us all as a group to move forward. We had a lot that happened last year, kind of alluding to the pause of it all. And she is like, hey, immediately she's like, Erica, I want to talk to you, because I forgot, this is a thing, because they really were on this pause, I did forget about some of the things that happened. And maybe I should have went back and watched last season again, but I didn't want to watch it because it was kind of toxic, and it was really, really draining to watch at the end. So I actually did not want to go back to watch it. But anyway, so what happened, so she has a bone to pick with Erica, because Erica last season, again, was unbearable. She was not nice. So she mentions that her particular issue with Erica is what she said at BravoCon. And then this is, okay, I'm going to mention what it was, and then I'll give you my feedback, because you could tell right away I'm not feeling this deal, and I'll explain why. So basically during BravoCon, Erica so someone asked a shady question, because it's BravoCon, which is like Comic-Con for Bravo celebrities. So everyone that's on the network of Bravo, they have like this Comic-Con type thing called BravoCon. And someone in the crowd, one of the audience members, asked a shady question of who she thinks whose marriage was in trouble, who was, most likely to get separated of her group. And she said Dorit and PK. And apparently Dorit feels a horrible way about that. And she's talking to her about how she was like, why would you do that? Like, we're supposed to be friends. Because the reason why, okay, so I'm going to address 2 things right now of why I gave the reaction I gave when I was about to explain what happened there. So first of all, BravoCon happened over a year ago. And the BravoCon thing happened even before the reunion. And it was even a question that was asked during their reunion. So why are we still talking about something that could have been addressed during the reunion? It's an old stale thing to still be upset about. My opinion. It seems like you're reaching for a storyline, friend. And you have a phone. You could have addressed to her. If you guys are really, really good friends in real life, if I felt a way about what you said, I would address it then. I would not wait until over a year later to address this. You had all the opportunity, which you also kind of told her yourself and basically stated you guys are not real friends. Y'all don't really hang out outside this show. So I did not like that. That to me, I was like, why would you wait over a year to address that? And also, why didn't you dig deep into her about that at the reunion when it was brought up at the reunion, which was a year ago. Make it make sense. Just saying. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Because BravoCon was actually almost 2 years ago, I feel like. It was a while ago. Let's just put it that way. It was forever ago, because they're actually getting ready for the next BravoCon this year. Like in the next couple weeks or so. So to me, that was a little weird. That you're just waiting. You waited until then to say that when that was already addressed during the reunion. Anyway. So the other thing is Erica's excuse. She had an excuse right away. She went in defense mode where she's like, I'm a showman. They wanted something shady. I gave them something shady. Because Erica, if anything she's great at, is she's delusional. For those who don't know, part of where allegedly Tom Girardi, her ex-husband's money went was to support her singing career. So she really does think she's a performer. And I mean, I will give it to her. She has performed in the show Chicago. So I mean, she has done some work, but let her tell it. She's Madonna. Let her tell it. At least in my opinion, it comes off that way. But anyway, so, and then Dorit's just feeling away. It's like, okay, we're friends though, so what was that? And so the other thing that I mentioned, I allude to, that they appear to not really be friends in real life. And the reason why I'm saying this, that they appear to not really be friends in real life, is because of the fact that the reason why the show got super toxic for the past, I don't know, I would say it's been seasons, it's been pretty bad. They have this group called the Fox Force 5 or something like that. It's like they're all in this alliance called Fox Force 5, or had it. And by the main mean girl, that lady no longer being on the show, it kind of broke it up. And they kind of imploded on each other, to be honest, because they turned against each other. And what happened was, once Kyle's sister started doing what she did, because originally they were all always attacking Sutton, not really Crystal, but Sutton, mainly Sutton. They would try to all attack Sutton and Garcelle. They would always try to attack them because they're the fan favorites. And historically, they had this alliance running all the fan favorites off the show. That's what they were doing. And when I think they figured out that was not going to work, and so the main mean girl turned on, Kyle, kind of, by the way of intervening in her relationship with her sister, making it appear like she cares when no. Because the main person who's no longer on the show's focus was to always, her storyline was other people's storyline. She never had her own storyline other than maybe the first season. It really wasn't even her storyline. It was her daughter's storyline. She's never had her own storyline. She's always in other people's business. She's kind of just the stir of stirs, but she has no limit to how far she'll go with it, basically. And so they kind of imploded on each other. And this is kind of a little bit of the aftermath of what happened here a little bit, it seems like. Y'all are not really friends. Y'all were just in an alliance, it comes off as. Where, to me, Garcelle and Sutton are real life friends, which is why your tactics wasn't working on them. Anyway, that's how mean girl and toxic the last season was. And hopefully, with this breakup of the group, and everyone kind of being fractured, hopefully we get a better show out of it now, because it was annoying. But anyway, so I want to give you context on that as well. So Dorit is still talking to Erica about this, hey, that still hurt my feelings. Why would you do that? And Erica basically doubles down and is like, well, is your marriage good with him? Like, in front of everyone, because they're talking in front of the whole group. It's not like this is like one-on-one. They're talking in front of the whole group. And Erica, when she talks, she's very like, she's Ice Queen. So when Erica says that, they pan off to Sutton's confessional, offering another subtle hint, because I feel like something is awry, clearly, because it's kind of obvious at this point. But Sutton states a breadcrumb, I would like to call it, a little trail of there might be something to what Erica's saying here, is that when PK got DUI, so he basically got DUI last season, they kind of addressed it a little bit. Allegedly, there was another woman in the car with PK when that happened because Dorit wasn't there with them. And she just says that as she's sipping her tea in the confessional, like, so maybe there's something to it. And then nice little fun little southern shade that Sun sprinkled in there. But anyway, so out of nowhere, this seemed kind of, I don't know if the editing was weird or whatever. But Erica breaks down, like on cue, it seemed kind of rehearsed because it's hard for me to believe anything. Erica and her emotions, if they're not anger, I have a tough time believing them. Because she just kind of seems like, again, she's an ice queen. She gives off ice queen energy. So she breaks down, and all of a sudden she just has these tears, and she is mentioning how she just had really, really tough years. She felt alone, yada, 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 past 2 years or whatever, because, she's alluding to her failed marriage with that ex-husband of hers. Again, never apologized to any of those victims about what happened. Neither here nor there. But, and she apologized to everyone about her poor behavior from basically the past 2 seasons, because her behavior was horrible. Immediately, Kyle gets up to hug her, and everyone appears to be warm to her apology. They accept it seems like. Garcelle, in her confessional, though, is the voice of reason, and she was saying exactly what I was thinking. She's like, I would hope she's being genuine, but I don't know if I should believe that or not, so I'm going to proceed with caution. I was like, that part. So, next, Kyle goes to address Dorit, and, she addresses the whole group. She didn't really focus her attention of where her issues came from, but in her confessional, she mentioned it was Dorit and Sutton that she really had the issues with. But Kyle is literally kind of discussing her issues with what happened last season in pertains to her sister Kathy and their relationship, and how she kind of felt like she was like stranded at the reunion after everything came out. And again, Garcelle being the voice of reason, as she always is on this show, which is why I love her for this show. She's the only one that does not suffer from delusion. Well, her and Sutton. Sometimes, but I feel like Sutton's delusional is fun. Her delusions are fun. Anyway, so she basically, Garcelle's like, you seem to be upset with the wrong people, because she's like, you need to be upset with the people who like did that, which Erica and that lady. And Kyle continues crying. And this is my thought. I want to like Kyle, but I can't like her. She just is so, I don't know. Put in the comments if you think this way, for those who have watched the show. She just comes off like a victim, like a habitual victim. And I don't like those type of personalities. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, so Sun pretty much sums up and ties in a bow, along with EagleWoman, and state that there's love within the group. That's why there's hurt, because they wouldn't be hurting if there wasn't any love. And they do a group hug, and then it appears that they all moved on for now. And the keywords for now. And Dorit's happy because she's like, "Yay, my retreat was a success." And that seemed a little rush, but hey, if you like it, I love it. All right, so then the next scene here, if you're wondering what I'm looking at, I have notes. Yes, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I gave you all the details. But anyway, so in the next scene, we have Erica talking to her therapist. And, oh, no. Whoa. Skipped a whole entire thing here. Okay, so in the next scene here, sorry, I'm going to adjust my camera because I keep getting my door stopper and it's bothering me. I'm going to figure it out. I'm in a different room if you can't tell. But anyway, so in the next scene, we have Sutton with Avi, and Avi is apparently like her property manager and head of operations for her business. So they're actually at her store called Sutton. I actually want to check it out though. It's probably way overpriced. I probably can't afford it, but I would just love to see where it's at. But anyway, they're at her store when Jennifer Tilly, the actress, and for those who don't know who she is, she played the bride in The Bride of Chucky. That's Jennifer Tilly. The Bride of Chucky franchise show, like the movies. She's been in other things too, but that's the main thing I remember her from, because that was like one of my favorites. But anyway, because I always wanted to dress up as Bride of Chucky, even though I don't like the idea of Chucky. Side note, not related to anything. Anyway, so apparently they have been friends for over 10 years, which is, again, one of the reasons why I love The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because you have all the celebrity cameos that pop up on this show. It's given ambiance and all that good stuff. But anyway, so Avi provides a nice little charcuterie board with the spreads and all that. So that nice charcuterie board. And they basically, Sutton just states in her confessional that they've known each other for 10 years. They go to fashion shows together throughout the world and all that good stuff. Just, fabulous stuff that not everyone can do. And then they go sitting down and they're talking about Sutton and her getting this horse and why she did get this horse. And really, we get a little bit more into why Sutton is basically building this empire. Like, she has her own business. This store has been open, I think, for a couple of years now. So they were celebrating that. For those who don't know Sutton's backstory, she was someone, she's originally from Georgia, so she's a Southern belle, and she has coins. She has the coins, and a lot of it is due to a divorce that she had. She was in a relationship with her husband, and they both were working together leading up to the marriage, building their coins and making their money. And then once they got married, her husband's like, be a housewife, like an actual housewife, like sit down. You don't need to do that. And she lost her sense of independence as a result of that. And so it was so bad that she was getting an allowance. And so the only way she was getting money is through her, husband. And until that stopped, until he's like, you don't get an allowance anymore. And she realized little by little, she went from being an independent woman to being very dependent on a man. And that was, I guess, one of the lessons that she learned when that all went down, that she will never do that again. And so now she's on the other extreme of being a boss and not ever being dependent on a man again. And when I tell you, I felt personally attacked when they were going over that whole thing, because I was like, I feel that. I feel that on so many levels. For those who don't know, I was in a relationship. We didn't get married. I actually knew what my engagement ring was going to look like, though, so I was getting there. Where I was feeling that actually happening. I went from being someone who, and I wasn't like wealthy. It's not quite the same levels, but like I went from someone who was good at getting stuff on her own, would have multiple jobs to get what I needed. I would do whatever I needed to do to make sure I would get what I need. And I went from that to, being with someone who made way more than me. And when I asked, like, hey, let me match you, I want to be able to match your energy, and let me get a second job, it was always like, why do you need to get a second job? Like, I felt like I just wasn't even able to do that. And so little by little, I felt like I was kind of becoming dependent. And I did become super dependent. And there was a pattern of that within my family, a little bit too of that. And I don't want that for me or anyone else. So I get what Sun was coming from. So this scene was super cute, super relatable. I understood it. And it kind of helped me understand why Sun bought that horse. Because apparently also Sun had a horse when she was a kid, because she's from the South, and she wanted to get a horse. And so she was like, I'm just going to buy a horse. Instead of renting one, she was like, I'm just going to buy one. Because she can. And she also does share that her doing well in life, she wants her ex-husband to see it. Now that part I didn't relate to all the way, because I'm just kind of like, you be successful for you and you only. So hopefully she gets past that point at some point. But I get it. You've had kids together, you had a whole entire life together. It's going to take a little bit more time than lowling me, who's with someone for like 4 or 5 years. I get it. But anyway, so and she also talks about the spousal support, how she technically doesn't need to do what she's doing because she got a lot from the spousal support, but she doesn't. She basically wants that to be like, I just get that. I don't really need it. And that's where she's at right now. She gets it, but she don't need it. And she wants it to stay that way. So I respect that. And she's like, I'm not going to say to stop it. We're going to keep it. But I want my own coin too. So I get it. Anyway, the next scene, we have Erica. This is where we have Erica with the therapist. And the therapist is Dr. Jen Mann. And for those who don't know, she's from couples therapy and family therapy from VH1. So if you've seen any of those, you've seen this lady before. She's kind of a known TV therapist. But anyway, so apparently that's her therapist. And by the way, before I go more into her scene, I wanted to put that out there. Whenever they go to, the ladies' individual scenes, and it shows their cut back, where they're just doing this before they go to the scene. These women, everyone looks so good in that. Everyone, the fashions are fashioning. Everyone looks beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I can't wait to see the intro of this show, because it seems like Bravo as a whole, not just with this franchise, but as a whole, they've stepped it up ever since they kind of got that feedback from Atlanta a couple seasons ago. It's been on point. Okay, but Erica has been going to Erica states that she's been going to therapy for the past 2 years. I'm pretty sure it's probably related to everything that was happening with her husband. And she discusses her husband and the indictments, and how that's impacting her a little bit. She doesn't really discuss it. She discussed it a little bit with the therapist, but then she also shares in her confessional how that's impacted her, and how she does not according to her, she doesn't like how mean she was the past 2 seasons. And she wants to change that. She wants to fix that, according to her. I'm not sure if I believe it. I mean, she has to be able to like film with other people on this show, and she basically didn't make any friends last season, and the only friend that she has is no longer on the show. So she is kind of don't really have a choice but to make amends. I was kind of trying to figure out how she's going to do this, and this is kind of, I guess, how. Whether she's genuine or not is a whole other thing, and I guess we'll find out as this season progresses. But anyway. So as she's talking to the therapist, we see these other scenes that are kind of happening at the same time, where they cut off to Garcelle and Sutton talking a little bit more about how they feel about Erica and the situation, and also show Crystal talking to her husband, Rob Minkoff, the creator of The Lion King. They're talking about it too. And Crystal, side note, Crystal was not on this episode much at all. I forgot she was there. I really forgot she was there. And this is her third season, and I feel like she really, really gives friend of vibes. I don't know if she's going to make it I don't think she's really fit for this show. She has the coins for it, and she does provide like a younger audience because she's my age. But she doesn't really have any drama. She kind of just always just there. Like, honestly, the past 2 seasons, Kathy Hilton was a friend of, and Kathy Hilton had more going on to me than Crystal did. But I'm going to hold off my judgment until I watch the season. I'm trying to start the season with a clean slate. But I just wanted to mention, like, you notice this whole entire episode, I mentioned her twice. She was kind of barely there. But anyway, so back to Erica with the therapist. She talks about Dorit and how she really wants to restore that friendship and how things went down in BravoCon. She's kind of trying to show remorse, but it just seems like, again, she's an ice queen. I think she actually legitimately has issues showing remorse just in general. Or if she does, she's like someone who does it internally and she doesn't show it with her face. Because she's asking, how do I show empathy? She's literally asking this to her therapist, because that's one thing at least is true, and she knows this. She's not good at showing empathy when it comes to anything. She's she comes off super self-absorbed and very much about herself. I would not put the narcissistic thing on her, because I don't like saying that about people, because I feel like everyone is a little bit narcissist. But she did not share a lot of compassion when they were trying to like talk to her about how she feels about the victims and whatnot. It was not good. But anyway, so next scene. Kyle appears. She shows up at Dorit and PK's house. She mentions in her confessional, so as she's showing up to go to their house, Dorit and PK are trying to like get prepared for her to be there. They're not sure what all to have for food, because the other person lost a lot of weight was Kyle. Kyle Richards she lost a lot of weight, and she actually explains in her confessional that she hasn't been drinking for 7 months, and she's been really into her health and wellness. Like, she's just been over it. Anyway, so she mentions the 7-month thing. It shows a cut scene of the previous season, how she was really, really drunk, and how she acted towards Sutton during Garcelle's party. She was overly handsy and kind of just being forceful and stuff with her and kind of slurring her words. They show that scene, and apparently Kyle did not like that look for herself, so she's kind of strained it out since. But anyway, Kyle is now there with Dorit, and she's venting about her relationship with Kathy and how she still is just, that's not really repaired. They're able to be in the same room together now, which is progress, because they weren't even able to do that after the reunion. They're cordial, but they still have a long, long way to go, and hopefully they get that resolved, because they don't have parents. They're the only ones that they have, and their sisters, so it's kind of tragic. But anyway, so Dorit then vents to Kyle about the break-in and how that impacted her, and how she just kind of has had a rough year herself now. And she also confesses to Kyle that PK wasn't there for her as much as she would have liked, and her marriage isn't doing as well as it was before. So this actually adds a little bit more context to why Dorit took that BravoCon comment from Erica so personally, because she really wasn't doing well with her marriage. Like, she really was in a rough patch, so she felt like she was getting called out versus it being a joke. And also, with that, she mentions, like, you know, the break-in. Now, last season, Dorit and PK had a break-in, a house break-in. They never caught the people who did it. And there was a lot of controversy of whether this was for a storyline or if it really happened. And because allegedly, Dorit and PK have had some financial problems and have for some time now. And so allegedly they may have staged that break-in for insurance purposes, if you get my drift. I don't know. I don't get paid enough to know about all that, so that's a whole nother thing. But so it's interesting. I guess that's kind of why I'm giving like a little bit of a look when they're talking about the break-in, because I don't know what the reason is. I don't know. So anyway, we basically go on to the next scene. So that's pretty much all. We just get a little breadcrumb if something's going on there. So it's funny that this season's starting off where we're thinking it's going to be all about Kyle's marriage, but clearly she's not going to be the only one that's having problems right now. And there's actually only 3 of the housewives that are on the show that are married, that are right now in this rotation. Because there's another housewife that they actually did not show this episode. I don't know if she's going to be a true housewife, she's going to be a friend of. But according to the picture, you see that there's another one, so I'm not sure. Anyway, next thing here, we have Garcelle with her kids, which I love the scenes when it's, you know, the housewives with their kids. And and she's with Jax and Jade, and they're her twin younger sons from her last marriage. And I did not know that was them at first, because the last time I saw them was like 2 years ago, or a year and some change ago. And puberty, wow. Because Jax had this squeaky voice last time he was on the screen, and unfortunately he had a rough season. Garcelle and Jax had a really rough season last year, and it was a lot of it was tied to one of the housewives just kind of one and done. I'm so glad we never saw that lady again, because there was another that lady that's no longer on the show. And then the other thing that happened was Erica was not very nice to the son either, so it caused a lot of issues with him being bullied, unfortunately. So anyway, I'm mentioning that because I think that might add some context to what is happening, because this whole scene is her with her sons. So they go to the beach, because if you're in California, especially in that area, you have beaches, and I'm like, oh, take me back. Anyway, so Garcelle, in her confessional state, she's been going back and forth between Atlanta and Beverly Hills for work, because she's an actress. I mean, Garcelle Duvet, she's been in the acting game for a super long time. For those who don't know, she was one of her first roles was Coming to America in like 1987. No, 86, 87. The Eddie Murphy black cult classic. She was one of the flower ladies. Anyway, if you know, you know. But that's one of the shows she was on. And she was also on the Jamie Foxx show as Fancy, Jamie Foxx's love interest. But again, she's been booked and busy, and she was also on the Talk before they got canceled. I think that's the show, because I always get confused by which daytime talk show where there's women panels. I think it was Talk. But anyway, booked and busy. That's Garcelle Duvet. And she's a successful actress and beautiful at that. And melanin. But anyway, so she's having the scene with her sons, and she's, getting their feedback, how they feel about going back and forth. And, it sounds like she has like joint custody with her and her ex-husband. And Jax is vocal. He's like, hey, I'm just going to say it. And I see where Garcelle is very straightforward when she talks, and Jax is the same way. He got that from his mama, that's for sure. He's like, hey, I really need more independence. Like, I feel like you mother me a little too much when you're here. And I kind of get what he means. It sounds like she might overcompensate because she feels guilt from doing from working so much and having to work so much, and also wanting to work so much because she wants to do both. That is a common issue with women as a whole, especially in today's day and age. Most women, we don't get to just sit at home and be the homemaker, and a lot of us don't want to. So yeah, there's that. And anyway, they're talking about, Jax is kind of the main one who's talking. Jaden isn't really talking. Jade isn't really talking at all. And he's just like, and she's like, I'm just trying. She mentions in response, like, I just feel like you don't let me mother you. Like, you don't let me be a mom. And their relationship where they're able to talk to each other, be fully transparent, that is a beautiful thing, actually, especially since they're teenagers. And it's not going to get any easier. So I love that they're talking to each other in that way. But anyway, he's like, well, I would have loved that 2 years ago. And he's kind of alluding to what happened, what I mentioned earlier. And I think he had a really tough time. And now he's like, I was able to handle that. I could just handle everything on my own. And that is kind of heartbreaking to hear. And the way he said it, since it was so straightforward, it did come off harsh. And I could tell she was just kind of like, I'm glad you said that. But I think she feels like she's not doing well as a mom. And I'm sure all women who are moms feel that way sometimes. Or, parents in general. You don't always feel like you get it right all the time. And especially when your child is giving you a reality check. But anyway, so that's what happened there. And then after he talks, and they talk to Jade, and Jade's like talking about how he just misses his girlfriend. And they're identical twins. They're not identical twins. They're fraternal twins, by the way. So that was funny. And that kind of broke the ice, and that pretty much ended that scene. But in the last scene here, so in this last scene, we have Kyle at home waiting for Mauricio to get off the phone because they just want to communicate, have a conversation. And immediately, you see the tension. There's tension there. It's pretty obvious. It's a little like this, a little eggshelly. And so she's like trying to get Mauricio to get off the phone, her husband, and he finally gets off the phone. And they're trying to review their schedules of when they can actually connect as like husband and wife and as a family. Because apparently he's been booked and busy more than ever because, he has his real estate company and is doing really, really well. And then she's booked and busy because she's an actress too. And I feel like she probably helps him with the business a little bit there too. So they've just been busy. And then it kind of gets even more weird. So he gives her a compliment about how her body's looking and how she's looking great. And I'm just like, but y'all live together. So to me, the compliment didn't make sense because you see I look good. So anyway, he's like, yeah, you look good. Like, you've been losing weight and doing this, doing that. And like, it's like, okay. And so they show some cut scenes of her like running on the treadmill, working out, and she really is looking healthy. Like, not thin, but like she looks like she's cut. She is a thinner lady, but that's probably just her frame. But she looks like she's just been putting all her frustration out into working out. But then the conversation was already weird and got weirder. So somehow tattoos came up, and he didn't know how many tattoos she has, and she has 5. And then she kind of got all snarky with him, like saying like, well, if you pay attention to my body more, maybe you would know how many tattoos I have. And I'm just kind of like, yikes. And then from there, it just goes south. And he asked like if she's done getting tattoos. She's like, I don't know, maybe not. And he's like, I think you should be done. And I felt away with that even. I was like, how are you going to tell her if she's done getting tattoos or not? You're not her daddy. What is that? And she took it that way too, which I've never seen this side of her, saying like, well, if I want to get more tattoos, I'm going to get them. And she kind of she shared, and actually, and let me kind of pedal back a little bit. She did share in the scene with Dorit that she's sick of pleasing people, being a people pleaser, because she kind of does come off that way, but then does things reluctantly. Maybe that's why I don't like her about her. But then behind the back says how she really feels, and she says, I'm not doing that anymore. Pretty much. She said to Dorit in the scene when she was talking to Dorit at their place, and now she's saying it again to him, but she's saying it way more harsher to him, like, no. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't need to ask for anyone's permission, including you. And then it pretty much ends there. So yeah, that concludes episode 1, season 13 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Let me know what you thought about this review. I give a lot of detail. I know I do that, but I don't know. I figured it's good. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe to my channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye.